It's happening, guys. We are in the same place at the same time. It's unbelievable. One of us rather, actually has had to fly down for this. We've had to book a studio. We've had to put a setup where we can barely see each other so that you guys can see each other for the first time. Welcome to the first video episode of the Inside Line F1 Awards. And we've been doing this for years now, haven't we, Kunal? I remember this going back almost a decade now.
Absolutely. It's been a decade. It's the Inside Line F1 Parody Awards, my most awaited episode of the year. We can trash talk. We can have all the fun, relive all the memories. There's a reason why it's a parody awards. Firstly, I don't watch awards, but I know that when you see an award, you're like, that was not a deserving winner. I can think of 3 other deserving winners. Trust me, that's what's going to happen this awards episode as well.
Like the FIA Action of the Year. Why? How come they gave that to... That's not the Action of the Year. By the way, they gave it to Sergio Perez for a very calm double overtake when Alex Albon did what he did in Montreal and swooped past a couple of cars in the wet with no space at all. So already we're criticizing the FIA in minute 2 of the episode.
And there'll be more of that. See, this is the thing that I love about this episode. We do it once a year, and I wish we could actually record together more often. But I have to mention this every single time we do this awards because I think even it goes the same for you. We've watched or we've listened to this episode every year, listening to Kunal and Mithila. And the interesting bit and the fun bit is we are actually being a part of it for the past couple of years. So yeah, it feels great to be here, and I'm very excited to get through all the categories for today.
And the winner is never who you think it is. What's this all about, Kunal? Why is the winner never who we think it is?
Because, usually when you see awards, especially in motorsport, fan voted awards, driver of the day awards, it's all down to popular fan bases. Okay. And back in time, 10, maybe 12 years ago, when I thought of this thing, I said, let's just disappoint everybody, but let everybody have fun, because every nomination is not your regular nomination. Every category is not your regular category. And let's put it out there. Okay. The amount of hard work that the 3 of us have put in to this is there are 24 races. Okay. Which means I'm just going to round it off to 25. It's easier for my math. Okay. That's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay. So that's 75 days. You take 2 media days per race. What's 25 times 5 or 5 times 25? 125, right? So 125 out of 365 days. We have to add sprints to it. We have to add car launches, preseason testing. When you put that whole package together, it's 1 in every 2 days of the year.
Every day of the year. We're thinking about F1 every day of the year. Yeah. Every day.
All of that goes into this episode. So there will be recency biases, but we have gone back to think of every possible incident through the year. So if Lance Stroll has gone into the gravel just in Brazil, we will actually remind you what he did in preseason testing to test the car in the gravel in Brazil, for example.
Exactly.
But it's crazy, right? Because we've traveled the world, or at least a lot of it this year. You through your broadcast duties and being with Kushmeni at the Formula 1 test that he was doing in Austria firstly, then so many others that he's also had. We've done the Indian Racing League together this year. We've been to so many places where racing is the last thing that should come to your mind. But we're always talking about that, like traveling on flights or going on road journeys or just randomly being at a place, just discovering it. And then you go like, Formula 1. Like I remember we were just roaming around the streets of Chennai last year. And that's the last place where we should have had a Formula 1 conversation, but even that happened over there. So,
the interesting thing is we all have day jobs, and you don't have a day job, but then you have college as well.
Not anymore. Hey, I'm free now. I'm a free bird.
No, he's not got his results yet.
He's not got his results yet.
Yeah, they can mess around with me.
But the interesting thing is we never talk about our personal lives at all. We never talk about personal lives. We talk a little bit about relationships, but then every time the 3 of us come together, it's always racing and it's always Formula 1, no matter where it is. We have a flight to catch tomorrow, and we are most likely going to be discussing Formula 1 content and racing during the journey after we check in the taxi ride to the track. So this is what really runs through our mind throughout the year, just like how Formula 1 happens throughout the year. You're constantly on it.
And we've got some incredible categories for that. So because it's an award show, we will have different awards for you, right? We have, first up, the introduction of the year. And it has to be, right? We're introducing the awards to people, so we have to start out with the introduction of the year. And by the way, the nominations are going to get wild. And as we've mentioned before, the winner is never who you think it is. First up, introduction of the year for me, a firm candidate, GM. When they came in, it looked like they were on the losing side of trying to get into Formula One. But at the end of it all, remove Michael Andretti from the equation, bring in manufacturer support, and that's it. Your entry is guaranteed. That 3-year long fight is finally done. And that to me is an introduction because at the end of it all, even the teams were confused and they said, I don't know. I remember Toto Wolff coming to the media and saying, I'm not sure if GM will particularly expand the pot for us. But here they are. They've barged their way in finally.
I think it's also the strategy of the year. The main hire, they've gone and hired all these former F1 people, Nick Chester and several other really big names from the paddock.
Didn't they hire the guy who's actually the technical director for Formula One?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they've gone and done those big hires. They set up a factory despite being told no at every step on the way. Like, no, you're not getting in. No, you're not getting in. No, you're not getting in. And
That's some crazy confidence.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they knew that something's happening. But their biggest hire were two lobbying firms that pressured the US Congress. So ultimately, politics was the big winner. And this is also a great introduction to new fans, just to tell you all that, yes, it's a sport, yes, it's a business, but it's also a political game. And we know who won this game. I think very clearly it's Andretti who won this game.
Which Andretti? Andretti the team or Michael Andretti?
I would say both, right? Because ultimately it's his baby. They're just renaming things to Cadillac. They'll tell Andretti, we'll give you a pass, but don't show up at all the races. He's eventually in this for the money. He's not driving anymore and he's going to make all the money.
He is going to make all the money, but then I would have really loved to see that Andretti name in Formula One once again. It's a name that comes with a lot of history. It comes with a lot of it's a decorated name in all of motorsport, not just Formula One, even in the America especially. I would have really loved to see that name once again. But either way, whoever runs that team, it's nice to have a 11th team on the grid after a very, very long time. 2 more seats available. Who's going to take that? So lots of interesting conversations around that. But yeah, I actually love having this as one of the nominations today.
But that's one. Oliver Behrman also has to count for introduction of the year. I mean, what he did in Saudi Arabia, coming in for Carlos Sainz after appendix. Have we all just forgotten the appendix thing? Remember, there was a time where you lose an appendix and you end up winning a Formula One race. Even that was a weird coincidence. But Behrman definitely has to be there.
Behrman's up there because he was in Formula 2 and he didn't have, I think, the best of starts to the season as well. And no one really expected him to come in and put in such a performance. I think he finished P7 with barely one practice session and one qualifying and he was straight into it. So... And he came back and he did well, where was it, in Baku and Brazil as well. So some very late call-ups and he's impressed. And Brazil was a little bit of a learning for him as well, I'm sure. The rain, the tricky conditions, not the best of races, but I'm very excited to see Oliver Behrman next year as well.
Other nominations.
Yeah, Flavio Briatore. Does he even need an introduction?
You know what? We should just do this because we're going to mention Flavio Briatore a lot. Yeah. So for a lot of people coming in, looking at this Italian deal maker who's now at the head of Alpine, who was apparently banned, what should they know about this guy, Kunal?
I will always remember him as the person who brought race fixing to Formula One. Sorry, Flavio, you could have made Michael win all his titles, the first 2 of them, turned around Benetton, whatever. But I'm still not able to let go of that race cheating scandal we saw. So Flavio Briatore, definitely. Liam Lawson, again, does he even need an introduction? I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him do a full season, getting enough time in the car. Instead, every time in the car, he's told, that could be your last session. And then all he does is fights with Alonso and Perez and everyone else.
He's the old person beater, you know. Any old person he sees behind him, he just makes their life so much harder. It's funny.
Yeah, I think it was in Qatar where Lawson was blocked by an Aston Martin. And he said, Alonso blocked me. And his race engineer was like, nah, it was actually Stroll. So just how much Alonso sits in his rivals' heads doesn't matter their age.
And Perez.
And Perez
as well.
In Mexico,
in Mexico. Of all places. Brutal. In Mexico.
That was brutality, man.
But we also have Franco Colapinto. Franco Colapinto, someone who was literally brought into the team very last moment. Logan Sargent chucked away after a bad race in the Netherlands, and he's come and he's done well.
You think so?
well enough to get a seat?
He's done fairly well to have he's made an impression at least. Of course, there's a lot of learning for him to do, but then he's been an exciting talent on the grid.
Okay. You know what?
No, one sec. I'll tell you the learning that's to be done. It's actually all of us. It's Oscar Piastri. He said, I want to learn Spanish so I can laugh more at Colapinto's interviews, because he literally told Colapinto, I've heard that your Spanish interviews are really funny. So that's the learning I would love for all of us to do for Franco Colapinto. But you're right. I think Formula One's going through that Franco Colapinto effect. If a Colapinto, who was not regarded so highly in Formula 2, despite he was being, running in the top 5, which I think is pretty good, suddenly he's doing well. Christian Horner's like, should Isaac Hadjar be doing better, who almost was in the title fight till the last round of the season. So there is Colapinto.
No, there are two things I like about Colapinto. First of all, not just about Colapinto, but we've spoken about Beben, we've spoken about Hajar. All the young drivers from Formula 2, whenever they've been given an opportunity, they've fared decently well. No one's had a poor outing as such. So the young drivers are doing well. But also the fact that the sort of excitement that Colapinto brings also into Formula 1, all the Argentinian fans and everyone really rallying and really pushing and encouraging him at Brazil. That's very fresh to see in Formula 1 these days, especially for a young driver. So I actually like having him up there.
Yeah, it's good, right? A driver that brings in money and talent. We just need to find a space for him. And I get a feeling we might not have seen the end of him. There might be opportunities coming up. You never know, right? 11 team coming up. You could probably look at the money and get Franco Colapinto and see what's what.
Or even the 10th team. I mean, the next nomination in the introduction of the year is Jack Doohan, who almost didn't have an introduction, even though he's motorsport royalty. But if Doohan doesn't do well, I think Flavio Briatore can be trusted to be like, you know what, you're out. I need to give the other driver a seat. Bring in all the Argentinian money, paint the engine cover half yellow, say there are Argentinian sponsors, and have a shot at more points. So there is Jack Doohan. But the other...
You're basically saying Flavio Briatore is going to disappoint someone with racing lineage, and he's not the only one who's being disappointed this year with racing lineage. Mick Schumacher as well.
Oh, yes.
So...
And Flavio Briatore famously said, and this is going to be a nomination later on in the episode as well, he very famously said, it doesn't matter who's driving the Alpine in 2025. It doesn't matter.
Precisely why there's a chance he might make that change.
It doesn't matter at all, according to him. Like you could put a monkey in that car and it could be fine with him. Yeah. Like, in a way, he's absolutely right.
He comes from the Bernie Ecclestone era. He said the easiest to change in a car is the driver, which is actually true.
It's such a breath of fresh air, right? So Flavio's been mentioned twice. Is he the winner though, Kunal?
No, he's not. There are more nominees I'm going to quickly read out. Artificial intelligence and racing. Do you guys remember that the AI cars went racing in Suzuka, went underneath the tunnel? The sensors actually couldn't reflect the change in shadow and light. And then boom, the car just spun around because the sensors couldn't read it. So that was the introduction. That's AI still getting there. Luckily, not going to take our favorite driver spots. But there's also Hamilton to Ferrari. And I'll tell you, the introduction here is to Carlos Sainz Sr. Because Carlos Sainz Sr. tipped off Toto Wolff saying, by the way, did you know Lewis is going to Ferrari? And this is why we're not going to see Carlos Sainz Jr. at Red Bull, because they want to keep Carlos Sainz Sr. and his political ways aside. The other introduction, question to you guys. Did you guys know that Eddie Jordan was actually the manager of Adrian Newey?
I was clueless.
So that's the introduction to Eddie Jordan, the talent manager. Okay. And then final, the introduction to Formula One in Romania. Okay. The Prime Minister, during live election tracking, on live television, was actually watching Formula One on his phone. Okay. So I'm going to pick the winner here. The winner of the introduction of the year is actually Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Okay. Because we saw that his debut was a mess.
It was a beautiful debut. That's how you announce yourself.
Yeah, well, that's how you announce yourself. It was such a mess that, Mercedes, especially Toto Wolff, was like, oh my God, he's binned it. What do I do? Let me reveal data to say how he was actually quicker than Max. He was actually quicker
Hey,
than
that's a
Hamilton.
good point.
That's the introduction. All that, when PR takes over talent, especially in this case, and I'm not writing off Antonelli, don't mind you. I'm saying Mercedes could have handled him better. So anyway, he's the winner.
Well, on the data point, just before you move on, it's actually interesting. Christian Horner did the same thing in Mexico. Both Toto and Christian brought out their data to support their arguments to the media, like they showed literal telemetry, which I believe is crazy, right? Team principals actually using that. Side note, but yes, the second. Actually, no. If we are
No,
having
there is a winner.
If we are having a winner, we should also present them with an award, right?
Yeah.
We haven't gotten anything, so we've just used this umbrella. So this is for you, Kimi Antonelli, but you might have to share it with.
Share it with, actually, Yuki Tsunoda. There's a reason. He's not
Introduction.
been introduced properly. That's why he got stopped at the US border before entering the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Can you imagine? Yuki Tsunoda did not look like a Formula 1 driver. I have no clue what a Formula 1 driver looks like. They always have their helmet on. But maybe we should move on to the farewell of the year, because almost very few drivers have received a farewell. That's the next category, Samuel.
Yeah, farewell of the year. Normally we go through the nominations and give you the winner. This time I'm just going to give you the winner straight up.
No.
Because it's happened so early. Dude, you can't top Esteban Ocon's farewell. Yeah, you cannot top that. That is the stuff of legends.
You can.
You can't.
But okay, you should probably continue with that. I'll tell you what's a better farewell.
Okay. No, wait, tell me more. We can actually have a fun, top trumps kind of thing. Over it.
Okay.
Like, what's worse?
Sao Paulo Grand Prix. It's raining heavily. The rain gets worse. And we see Lando Norris and George Russell changing tires onto a fresh set, and Max Verstappen not changing tires. A red flag comes on, and Lando Norris sees his championship fight going away. A nice farewell to what was a non-existing championship fight between them, but he nicely bid it farewell.
Basically, nature settled it.
Yeah,
Nature told him,
nature
you are
settled
never
it.
going to have it. Let me just take it
It was
away
never
from
meant to
you.
be. It was never meant to be. All that overhype, in my opinion, he just saw it fading away into the darkness.
But next year is his year. In
That's what
his
he
own
said.
words.
Hey, that's what all the Arsenal fans keep on saying. Like, next season is our season, next season is our season, but it's never come next season. So we'll have to wait and see. But no, on a serious note, right? I know we want to touch up upon the funny things, but now that we're on Lando, we might as well. Do you guys believe in him for 2025? Is he?
Of course.
Is he the one?
He's going to be up there with Max because, okay, look at Lando in the first half of the season and in the second half of the season. I think there's been a considerable difference there. And when everything was at stake, he did not drop it. Remember Abu Dhabi last year when he was almost on pole position and he dropped it? And that's happened a couple of times. He had the pace to be on pole, he did not take pole. He had the pace to lead a race or win many races, he did not do that. But look at the latter half of the season, especially in Abu Dhabi when they had the championship, the Constructors' Championship on the line. He did not make a single mistake in qualifying and in the race. So I think there has been an improvement in him. And next year, I think he will be able to make or mount a closer challenge to Max next year.
I feel there's something in the mentality. It's interesting because at the FIA Awards, Lando Norris said that it's an achievement to finish second to Max Verstappen, which is a very weird thing for a driver who wants to be a world champion to say, right? You don't say that your rival's better than you. It's rule number one. But when you come to think about it, he's actually competing with the best driver of this generation and probably the best of all time, for all you know. So being there is quite something. And you also have to learn to win, right? Not everyone's Max Verstappen, because think about McLaren themselves. Last year, they finally got in a situation where they were close to victory. They learned how to manage wins and how to close it all off. And Lando's also part of that journey. So I think we might just be seeing Lando version 0.75, not even Lando version 1. By the time that happens, maybe next year, he's even better. And with the car being so good, with Red Bull also in an unpredictable circumstance, I don't want to put my money away from Lando Norris. I think he's going to be better. But then again, what sort of a driver says that it's an achievement to finish second to the eventual champion?
A driver who's a good guy, a good boy, on track, off it, in the
Is he
cockpit.
too good though? That's the...
No,
I think
one
he's
sec.
too good.
By the way, guys, sorry, this is the Parody Awards. We shouldn't go down into dissecting Norris. But my point is he can win if McLaren has a decisive performance advantage. If he's going wheel to wheel, I don't think so. Especially if There's Max Verstappen or Leclerc or Hamilton in that wheel-to-wheel battle. Chances of that are very, very high. At least one of those three, if not all three of them. I don't think Norris is able to mount a championship challenge. That's my...
Very Seb-like, right? You give him a controlled environment and he'll be the best, but
No, I think
Early
you're devaluing Seb by putting that in Norris.
sure. I mean, yeah, you're
But
right. You're right.
On to farewell of the year. Okay. My farewell, I'm going to read some of the nominations, is Lewis at Mercedes. Okay, the minute he was leaving, Mercedes put out a job ad for a fashion manager. I've worked with a lot of
Serious?
Formula One. Yeah, there's a fashion manager job that was open at Mercedes.
Shouldn't that be given to Bono after he was caught wearing Lewis's Tommy Hilfiger outfit when he was leaving the paddock?
Of course, the best farewell that I think we saw for a driver was when, Samuel Aurora was down in tears, seeing Carlos Sainz being down in tears, seeing his farewell video at Ferrari. I know you didn't shoot that as well as Ferrari did. There was Kevin Magnussen from Haas and Formula One. I think his farewell post was like, 3 races to go, 0 penalty points. Let's go put Hulk on the podium. I loved that.
That is amazing.
He was giving a better farewell to himself than any team has probably given to a driver. Then, of course, Leclerc's special helmet for Carlos Sainz in Abu Dhabi. These are all those feel-good nominations. Oh, so cute. Let's just nominate them. But I think the biggest farewell, and this is not the winner, because I know you guys have picked a different winner, is Checo Perez from Red Bull Racing and maybe even Formula One. Right?
Are we there yet?
I think so, because he's kept on saying, this is not my last Mexican Grand Prix. I have a contract. I need to find a settlement that works for all parties. So maybe there's farewell already happened there. And, Daniel Ricciardo's farewell didn't happen. Logan Sargent's farewell didn't happen. Ocon, you pointed out on. Who else did we not have a farewell for?
Niels Wittich,
Niels
the race
Wittich,
director,
yeah.
Teddy Mayer. And so we started the year without any farewells at all. We had the same grid from last year come into this year. But right from halfway through the season, we've actually seen drivers and other personnel leave the sport.
50% of the grid, that's what we counted. Right, 50% of the grid is having farewells from their team or from Formula One.
Some did get their farewells, like we already mentioned, but many of those did not. And it's a little sad to see someone like a Daniel Ricciardo not getting a farewell that he would have
chose to not.
Yeah,
have
we've
a
already
farewell.
touched upon
Yes.
that. We've touched
Okay,
upon
so
that.
guys, who are the winners?
Esteban Ocon.
He's the winner?
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, imagine going through the painstaking effort, and it costs thousands of euros to print a new helmet, like to design it, to get it painted out, to get it shipped, delivered. And you don't just get one helmet, you always get two because you need backups with different visors as well. So I'm assuming at least 5,000-6,000 euros, if not more. That's assuming the helmet manufacturer gave him the helmet for free and he just had to paint it. That's a lot of money for anyone.
Maybe the designer did it for free. Maybe the printer also did it for free.
Whatever. You've made the hard work to create a special helmet for a team for which you are the most successful driver of all time, like of Alpine's history.
Can you imagine, though?
Esteban Ocon is the most successful Alpine driver in history. 1 win, 4 podiums. He's taken the team from their inception and their struggles to where they are today. Incredible. I mean, even though it ends with acrimony, you can't not acknowledge what he's done for the team. And then they just kick him out unceremoniously. Like,
Is it an Ocon thing? He's literally been kicked out, or he's had a bitter farewell with anyone he's driven with.
With everyone.
So with Sergio Perez, with Force India, because obviously Lance Stroll came in there. Then Alonso going away, having a very bitter rivalry with Ocon as well.
But that's just Fernando, right? That's like,
I mean,
the relationship
I'm just
starts
saying,
well in...
I'm just saying Ocon has had that unfortunate situation where it never, the farewells or the goodbyes are never good.
But this is a new low, man. Like,
So
one race before the season
who's the winner?
ends.
You picked Esteban Ocon.
This is stuff of legends.
Do you agree?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
It's brutal,
farewell
man.
of the year. Who's the winner, Sundaram?
Adrian Newey from Red Bull to Aston Martin. That's also the introduction
Did
of the
he
year.
get a
for-
farewell?
He
Not
did
yet.
get a farewell.
Not yet.
No.
So
But
you know
yeah.
what? Fernando Alonso actually said, your favorite driver, I'm willing to pay Adrian's wages from my salary. But I have to ask.
He's done that before, though, to mechanics.
Yeah,
In
well-
white envelopes.
Yeah, so we have to ask, how does Lawrence Stroll and Aston Martin, how do they work within the budget cap with everything that they've been putting together, the best facilities, the best talent into two? They've got a backup for every best talent. Like,
Is it a case of apportioning things? Because in football, the way the Chelsea Football Club managed it is they spent £1 billion in one transfer window, which is not possible through the financial regulations, but you amortize it over an 8-year or 10-year period. So maybe they're giving longer contracts to everyone. And
Or maybe 2025 we'll hear Aston Martin had a breach. We don't know.
could be, could be.
I just remembered another farewell of the year. Max Verstappen saying goodbye to an Adrian Newey designed car.
Oh yes.
He's not going to be driving another one next year.
Wow.
And he's driven one for the vast majority of his single-seater career.
Yeah.
Not just F1 career, because he's barely had a single-seater career besides Formula One. So, wow. Are we going to say farewell to Adrian Newey's chances of winning a championship as well? Because he's going to have
Let's not go there.
a potential world championship winning driver in Lance Stroll with him.
Absolutely.
It's phenomenal.
Adrian Newey is going to win again. Fernando Alonso is definitely going to win again.
Mission 33.
This is bias coming in right now.
Mission 33.
No one's saying farewell
Mission
to Logan
3, not
Sargent.
Mission 33. I'm thinking even beyond that.
But first you have to get Mission 33, then you'll get Mission 3.
Hey, but you guys are terrible people here. Logan Sargent, no word of him, no mention. Heartless. Absolutely heartless. Anyway.
we didn't mention Logan Sargent.
Okay, this is our farewell to Logan Sargent. So I think the award. Okay, finally, let's pick a consensus. Do we need to pick a farewell of the year?
No.
No.
There's lots of
yeah.
them.
We can agree to
Okay,
disagree.
well, let's hope. Let's hope. Okay, I'm just going to act like the wise age since I have more grey hair than you. You know, let's hope we've not bid farewell to the best of Formula One. That's what 2024 was all about, right? Let's hope, and we said this the last week as well. 2025 is 2024 version B, and not a reset pecking order or whatever. Because 2026 will have a reset. But I would love to have one more season where we're like, oh my goodness, this is still 2024. And, you know, so let's hope we've not bid farewell to the best season ever.
You know, we're really spoiled when it comes to these sort of championships, because in 2021 we saw arguably the best championship fight between two drivers, and this year we saw that happening in the constructors title, and we're really spoiled for that. We really wish this continues.
We enjoy it more when it's drivers rather than constructors.
I actually enjoyed this season more than 2021 for some reason,
I
because
did too.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm saying. We're talking about so many different teams that have had the highs and the lows, so many different backgrounds, nationalities, and so many different people that are involved in that. So I actually enjoyed this season more than 2021.
Best ever? I'd say best ever.
Best ever best ever constructors title that I've ever watched.
Oh.
Yeah. Which actually, the next category is like the longest list of nominations. It's the battle of the year, which is a great segue because everything in 2024 was a battle. What do you say, Samuel?
A battle for some people to keep a seat at the team where they've been the most successful driver as well with a special helmet. We cannot forget that.
He's not getting past the Ocon point.
It is huge.
Imagine if this happened. Were you this emotional when Carlos Sainz was kicked out of
Not
Ferrari?
even emotional. I just find it astounding that it's
My
unbelievable.
goodness. Sommel is battling his emotions in the Battle of the Year nominations right now.
Like Max Verstappen also was doing in his battle with George Russell, which I believe has to be one of the prime candidates. But the winner is never who you think it is. So that's why this one is not your winner. But the quotes that have come out of it are fantastic. I'm going to put you on your effing head on the wall. He is a hypocritical driver.
I'm not going to waste more time.
Yeah. Someone has to stand up to him.
It just came very late onto the season, I feel, because everyone goes away, everyone goes on a nice little break, and it kind of fizzles out. I would have liked that somewhere right in the middle of the season, right before the mid-season break, and then everyone turns up in Netherlands. I would have liked it to happen a little earlier in the season, but I think it's already kind of fizzled out a little.
It's fully gone.
It's gone.
It's like, I don't know. There was something more brewing there. There was George Russell trying to piss off Max. Maybe there are some conversations for 2026.
Maybe he's trying to stay in the limelight. Maybe he's trying to do something that Lando Norris should have done but did not do.
Which is not a bad thought, actually.
But I don't think you can get to Max Verstappen's head.
Yeah,
his head is never there, if you know what I mean.
But you have to stand up to him. And I say, because...
But is this the only way to stand up?
It is one way.
But
it's worked with Nico Rosberg.
But it did not bother Max at all. I mean, you should know your rival by now.
We think it didn't, but look at how he's driven in the last couple of races.
I don't think that's got to do... You mean Max?
Yeah.
But I mean, a couple of races was even Brazil included, right?
Yeah,
So,
sure. But Abu Dhabi, that you could sense desperation. And you don't often get that. So we've not tested Max when he is the great, but in a bad car. We've had a glimpse of it,
gonna
half a
happen in
season.
25.
It's going to happen in 25, and then we'll find out. Because remember, we've only seen Max in his teenage years when he was fighting with the competition, and he was messy as hell. No denying it. Now, although now that he's the great, and he is, right? He is one of the best of all time. Can he still be as clean as a Lewis or a Leclerc in his battling? I'm not saying he has to be, but this is another layer to his driving, which we're now going to find out. And if someone's getting to his head, I say, so be it. You can't have anyone stand up and
Listen,
be the only
Max is
person.
already on 8 out of 12 penalty points. He's already said, it's okay if I get a race ban next year. I'll use that as a paternity leave thing from Formula One.
You see, that's when things start to go downhill, because you know he's so extreme in his thought process. But hear me out on this one. On Max Verstappen, I was just thinking, right? We all agree he's one of the best drivers in this generation / of all time. You agree as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible. Do the new drivers coming into Formula One feel the same thing?
Does it matter?
I
But
think
I
it
mean,
does.
it's like this. If you're
I
a
think it
Formula One
does.
driver coming in, you think you're the best. You think you're a mix of Senna, Schumacher,
But
Prost.
racing room and respect, because nobody dares go on the outside of Max Verstappen, and that's a fact.
But that's because the rules are that way. If the minute the rules change and they're altered, or you put a gravel trap there or you don't, I think Max will change. So that's why they are working on, if anything, Max knows, it's like if Adrian Newey is pushing or used to push the boundaries of the technical regulations, finding a loophole in that tech reg, I'll find the loophole in the sporting regs and the racing regs. And
And
that's
that's what he's done. Max has actually found, or he's actually read the sporting regulations to the last word, to the last letter. So he knows where he can use it to his advantage. He did that in Austria. He did that in Mexico. He was able to make a case for himself. It wasn't very blatant, but that's also very important. We've seen Seb doing that a couple of years ago. So that's why it's very important to know the regulations, which Nico Hülkenberg did not know in Abu Dhabi, that you can't be passing in the pit exit, and he went on to do it. So drivers, apart from just putting in your laps on track, you also need to know what goes into the rule book.
Hey, you know what? We should ask that to Helmut Marko. I know you're speaking to him today.
Yeah.
You are speaking to him today. It's crazy. We should ask him. Is that one thing that you ask all of your drivers to be very good at, reading the regulations? Because now that I think about it, two great Red Bull juniors have that same trait of knowing the regulations inside out. But Checo didn't. And he got passed on the pit exit by Franco Colapinto.
Yeah.
Candidate for moment of the year. But another battle of the year, in my opinion, is just a follow-up of Max versus George. And it's the two dogs barking at each other. The terrier versus the wolf. Both of them howling at each other. Both of them making petty remarks, stupid comments. It's like those two neighbors who are always fighting with each other, and you're just like, they just do their own thing. We know what they're like. And the battle has evolved to a whole new level now, like a yapping little terrier, or I'd rather be a terrier than a wolf because I'd rather be with friends or whatever. I don't know. It's weird what's been happening. But I like it. I
can imagine Fred Vasseur sitting and watching all of this and having a good laugh on his own. Let them fight it out amongst themselves. But Toto and Christian have been on this for a couple of years right now. For a very long time.
They're never going to stop.
They're never going to stop.
They know that they get box office TRP ratings when that happens. The other box office TRP ratings, Gunther Steiner. He's not going to be a part of Drive to Survive
This
2024. Let's see how Drive to Survive does. But
he has been in the paddock. He has been in the paddock a lot this
and
year.
maybe Drive to Survive has just hired him to be like, just
Spice it up a
come as-
little.
Spice it up a little.
But Gunther's been having a battle this year.
with Haas.
In the courtroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over
It's-
trademark infringement of, I think, usage of Haas's logos, and I think it went in Gunther's favor. So that's out.
Did that?
I read
Is
about
it settled? Okay.
Well, Haas have been doing a lot of settling this year. Haas versus the legal loopholes are also a big battle, because they literally got stopped. Their freight was actually stopped in the Netherlands because they were apparently meant to pay their old sponsor Uralkali from 2021 some money. Again, the Russia-Ukraine dispute happened, and so they had to terminate that contract. But they almost was stopped from going racing in the next race. Strategy of the year, you mentioned, Kunal.
Yeah,
That's it.
and in the past, sponsors, or even typically in Formula One, sponsors pay teams so that teams can go racing. In the case of us, the reverse happened. The team actually paid a sponsor back so that we could land up and be allowed to take our cars to the next race. It was a double header. Luckily, it was in Europe itself. Otherwise, I can't imagine the implications of such an impounding as well, right?
And I think they owed Nikita Mazepin his car from 2021 as well.
Give it away. Nobody wants that one. Why do you want to keep that car, dude? Whatever little's remaining of it.
Yeah, whatever little. Exactly.
Other battles. There are
the
more.
other battles. Well, Mohammed Ben Sulayem versus the drivers. That's never going to end, I guess. And I don't know why MBS wants to be the bad boy. I just don't know.
Or even just be in the limelight, because Abu Dhabi race ended. He was on the podium and in the cool down room for no reason. Like, why are you here?
Yeah. And just trying to create fake conversations, fake laughter with Zach Brown, with Lando Norris.
We're really going after him, haven't we?
Oh, wait a minute.
We are the least offenders here. There are other people going at him with a formal letter. So we're still fine.
And then, of course, the worst that I think MBS said was drivers need to pay us more for hiring full-time stewards for the FIA, which, I mean, the amount of money I think till Brazil, there was 300,000 euros collected in fines only from the drivers.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I'm pretty sure
Wow.
if you were to I'm sure the number's close to 350,000 euros. And that's why the drivers are saying, where is the money going? Show it to us. And I think his legacy is going to be complete trash with bending rules, ethics, lots of people going, etc. That's what we will remember him for. When on the opposite side, on the contrary, he could have made his presidency term and his name be remembered for adding the 11th team to Formula One, which is the most positive thing he's done to the sport.
Is it?
I think so, right?
But it's not down to him as well, right?
No, it's not down to him. But if he did not surprise Formula One by introducing a tender for the 11th team, we wouldn't have had 11th team.
Correct.
So the decision is not down to him, but he's triggered it. Like, hey, guess what?
Isn't he on for a second term already?
No, I think there is a election coming up
You
next
need the
year.
randomness in life, right? So you need someone just to stir the pot up, like, 11 team. Yes, we will add something fun. Oh,
Please
new
put
race
the-
director.
Put the 12th team there as well. I think we really need it, because the regulations say up to 13 teams. If we can put a 13th team, why not?
I mean, I'd like Mohammed Ben Sulayem to be in charge of my Monopoly game. Like, he'd be the perfect person to write all the chance and community chess cards. Any random stuff, any random comments. You wore jewelry, pay 300. Oops.
Oh, yes. Lots of those bans as well.
I'll tell you, we cannot abuse on the podcast because all the platforms have an AI tool which picks up and then they just mark you explicit and your reach goes down. Okay. I'm pretty sure that AI tool is called MBS because...
We're done. Well done. That, sir, is...
I was actually going to suggest an MBS moment of the year because high-level departures from the FIA, Niels Wittich was fired, Teddy Mayer was fired via text. Then,
and the release said they left their position.
yeah.
Which is weird.
Then there was the F2 race director suddenly getting Formula One on his duties because the F2 race director left. So,
in MBS's tenure, we've had 3 race directors go away. And Charlie Whiting had been here in the sport for a very, very long time. So we've had 3 race directors go out in MBS's time.
and then Rui Marquez did what lots of Formula 2 drivers have also done, like Behrman. You do free practice in Formula 2. Suddenly you're called saying, hey, we need you in the Formula 1 car. So he did F2 and F1. I think it was Abu Dhabi. Then, of course, we spoke about, Teddy Mayer and the full-time collection of money for full-time stewards. Then he wanted to adjust the FIA structure, which eventually meant that he could fool around as he wanted and nobody would catch him. And in 2024, again, there was no rule. And this is serious stuff, okay, in play. So there was no rule in place in Formula 1 to determine the race start order if qualifying did not take place.
No chance.
They've actually amended the rule for 2025. In 2024, there was a loophole. I'm not making
But
this up.
isn't it your FP2 times or Sunday morning qualifying?
Yeah, it's usually the last practice
But it's
that
not
they
a
had.
rule.
Was it not in the
is
regulation?
Oh, it's a recommendation.
Yes.
You're right. It's a recommendation.
And it
Yeah,
could
yeah, yeah.
also be that you start in championship order.
Yes, that is an option. Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, our favorite, no swearing in the press conference
favorite.
or on the radio. But, on the radio bit is a bit silly because the radio is always delayed. So if it's delayed in broadcast, just do a beep
But
when you
don't
can.
swear.
But even the press conferences,
No, the press conference is live. The press conference is live for a lot of channels. Just that we don't get to see it.
we don't get to see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
but
guys are
it's-
bad
it's
people
live.
for swearing. Eh? You should understand there are kids watching. You must be high performance athletes doing so much of intense work that I could never do in a race car. Don't swear. Simple.
I think
Just don't swear.
this list is never going to end if we don't jump past.
But
NPS.
battle of the year, Kevin Magnussen versus the world, and Magnussen was incredible this year. He really just wanted to cause chaos. That was amazing. But for me, another incredible battle was Alpine versus its own engine. They really went at it this year. Firstly, they said we will shut our engine operations, which then caused a natural French reaction, which is protest and strike. So that happened as well. And the Alpine employees at the very factory were pissed, as they should be. But then they were relocated or readjusted with their work responsibilities to focus more on WEC and other strategic important goals for Alpine. So that's a shot in the foot because no engine manufacturer has ever said, I will willingly shut down my operation so that I can be a better car. Nobody has the advantage of being the engine manufacturer. You have it, use it. So they've done that, which
It's
is
very bad
which-
PR for their own engines.
It
For
is.
their own road cars as well.
Do you think the French ever cared about PR?
Exactly. And I think this
All
is
they
a
cared about was a
generational-
renaissance.
This is a generational move. I think 100 years down the line, we'll look back at this and go, an engine manufacturer who just didn't want to make engines.
But that's
Sabotage
typical,
one.
That's typical Renault, right?
They're so moody. They're so
Yeah.
moody. Like we're in, then we're not in, then we're in, then we're in with the cars, then we're in with the engines, then we're in with the engine and the cars. Now we're in just with the car, but we've sold our ownership. Then we have 3 different CEOs, then a strategic head, then a consultant, then a new CEO.
A new
then
name.
New name. I don't know what the hell is going on at that team, man.
Alpine could have actually done the most beautiful thing in Formula One, which is hire themselves a Red Bull powertrain. So it would have
They
been
could have done that.
Alpine Red Bull.
It could have come a full
You need
circle.
a
with
driver
that,
and you
the
need an
V8,
engine.
the V8 era was Renault powering Red Bull to the championship wins. But here, Alpine could have just done that. But, yeah,
the Alpine engine also gave up because it figured that if you're not going to run me anyway, I'm not going to give you peak performance. So what happened in Las Vegas? Pierre Gasly went so fast that the engine gave up. Essentially, the engine reached peak RPM and beyond because he was in slipstream with Yuki Tsunoda. And so the maximum speed and maximum RPM were blasted off. And we all know the Alpine engine is not performing at the same limit or performance level as the other engines. So what happened? It shut down. It broke off. It literally broke off. And that's the only damage that Pierre Gasly has apparently suffered this year.
Suffering from high performance.
Suffering from incredible.
By the way, Alpine engineers, where they make the power units, they released an audio note of the 2026 power unit as a
Oh,
protest.
that's like a picture of a stillborn baby that you're about to drop. That's sad.
Yeah,
You don't
well-
do that stuff. Come on.
Yes.
But who's the winner?
No, wait, lots more nominations.
You don't do that,
We
man.
cannot. Yeah. So there's drivers versus Max Verstappen. Big battle.
How
Everyone's
are we
like,
glancing away there? That is such an emotional moment, like a stillborn engine, and you hear the first. Oh, that's sad.
Someone's going to take a while
yeah,
to get past all the
Ocon
trauma that Alpine's
and
given him this
Alpine.
year.
My goodness.
And we're not even talking about management
I'm
changes.
glad Carlos Sainz moved from Ferrari earlier in the year, so he's had 24 plus.
He's had
races
time to digest that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's going to take him 90 days.
2025 Parody Awards, he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Guys, don't worry. All the Sawmill Aurora fans, especially the girls out there. Yeah. But
Hey, but if we're talking about Battle of the Year,
wait. If you're talking, yeah, go on. Okay. So
now that we're on Alpine, I just want to talk about the biggest outlier, I think, in Formula One's recent era. About Alpine scoring 50% of their entire points in one race and earning a $24 million payday, theoretically, just with one race. Like Sundaram, you were looking at the numbers, right? You did a quarterly breakdown of the points that each team scored in each part of the season. I remember first half Alpine 1 or 2 points, second quarter 3 or 4, third quarter 4 or 5, and then last race 35, all in one go.
They were the best of the rest in the final quarter of races. They went past Aston Martin. Aston Martin had a poor last quarter in 2024, but all of that actually came courtesy of Esteban Ocon once again taking P2 in Sao Paulo, but also Pierre Gasly's couple of good runs in the last few races. So yeah, they scored a bunch or a bulk of their points in those last 2-3 races.
I would say the battle for P6, Haas, Alpine, Racing Bull, that's also my battle of the year. But let's not forget, I said the drivers versus Max Verstappen. Clearly, it was Max on one side and all the drivers on the other side, with him being bullied.
Apart from Lando.
Even Lando got bullied. Come on. Then there was also
He wouldn't
Max.
say it though. He wouldn't say it though.
Yeah.
He'll just say it's a pleasure to be bullied by Max. So
Then there was Max versus Max. Max the bully versus Max the legend. You almost did not know which Max would show up in a wheel-to-wheel battle. You wouldn't know. That unpredictability in Formula One is the
would you
highlight.
not?
No, because suddenly he was so good. Like, oh my God, look at his car placement. He's given enough space. He's braked late. He's rotated the car, all of that. Suddenly next race, he's like, boom, what's he doing? Why is he throwing Lando off track limits each time he can?
He's doing the good cop, bad cop routine.
Yeah, he's basically confusing the stewards as well, right? Listen, I can race so well that you cannot penalize me, but I can also race so bad that you'll be confused. Is this the same guy we have to penalize this weekend?
He confused George Russell as well in Qatar. He said, I'm going to crash into you, but he didn't do that.
Yeah. Exactly.
So there is, then at the start of the season, there was a big battle in Red Bull, the political battle for power. Christian Horner, with Red Bull. So there was Red Bull versus Red Bull, the Thais versus the Austrians battling for power in Red Bull. Let's not forget that, which I don't know who won, but Christian Horner won. Then there was Horner versus Verstappen.
Yes.
But not
Verstappen
Max.
Senior.
Verstappen Senior. He did not give Jos a chance at the Red Bull car parade at the Goodwood Festival. But when the battle for
things,
power,
man.
wait a minute, battle for power. Nothing misses
All this matters in the bigger scheme of
things,
things.
man.
and this is why our Parody Awards is so good, guys. Okay, I'm biased, but the content is proving it. Christian Horner, in his battle for power and battle against Jos Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda, he said, Sebastian Vettel's not available? Don't worry, I will drive the Red Bull F1 car at
course.
Goodwood. So guess what? Christian Horner, all the Red Bull legends, Ricardo, Weber, everyone in a picture, and in the middle of all of that is Christian Horner in Red Bull overalls. Okay.
That is an ego boost if there ever was
I'm
one.
very surprised, on a very serious note, I'm very surprised Red Bull did not implode somewhere midway through the season. They actually still went on to finish third in the championship.
Did they not? Because I think
this happened at the very first race of the season. It was that early, and at one point we were even speaking about Helmut Marko leaving Red Bull.
He himself said
He said that. So it came to that point. I'm very surprised that it all just fizzled out beyond that.
You're right, because Verstappen stayed on, Helmut was still there, the ownership battle settled in, Newey was peacefully transferred off as well. I think it's
Jonathan Wheatley left. Several other people, high-level departures.
Say what you want. The racing operation continued to be excellent.
Absolutely.
Pit stops were brilliant. Strategies
The
were
head of
incredible.
strategy gone. Hannah Schmitz is boss, basically, that person as well. But so Red Bull versus Red Bull. Lots of battles there. Lando Norris versus his stars.
Exactly.
That's we can't forget.
Battle of the year.
Williams
that
versus...
takes it for me. That takes it for me. Lando Norris's battling starts right until the where was it in
I think
Brazil?
he's had just 2 successful starts.
Singapore,
Both of them, Singapore and Abu
Dhabi.
Dhabi. Both of them are very short.
Zandvoort also Zandvoort, he lost the position but gained it back, didn't he? Something like that.
So that should be okay. So that's your winner, Lando versus.
Yeah, I think I'll go for that.
Okay. I still have some nominations. Audi, the battle for power in Audi, because Audi, despite being on the grid, not being on the grid, rather, there is already quitting rumors that they're going to quit Formula One. There's already investments coming in before they've started up.
Step in the door, at least walk through it.
And then there are management changes already. Okay. And to me, Audi is the biggest question mark from 2026. Let's see where it goes there. But
Yeah.
Williams versus its drivers would actually be
my winner as well.
Oh my goodness.
We're sharing this one. It's totally okay. And this also for me has to be a stat of the year. Because if I ask you a question, which driver in Williams has caused the biggest crash bill? What would your answer be for that? Okay, which Williams driver do you think has actually caused the biggest crash bill for the year?
You would expect it to be the punching bag Logan Sargent, but supposedly it's not. I know we don't
Rank
have
them in order.
accurate.
Rank them in order.
I think it might be Colapinto, Albon and Sargent.
You are right.
I know my
Franco
numbers.
Colapinto has actually had more damage this year than Albon and Logan Sargent.
But you know what? I think that's still okay. You can clean up a fast driver. That's what happened to Max Verstappen as well at Red Bull. You can help a fast driver slow down and clean up his act at the right times. But could we have made Logan Sargent any quicker? Could Williams have made Logan Sargent any quicker? For example,
Even if Logan Sargent is quick, you cannot create a new floor in a day, especially when you're damaging them at the rate of 2 floors a weekend or something like that. It's unbelievable. But I get you.
Yeah.
Williams had to, right? It's at a stage where you have to make that change. But holy wow, did they suffer. Like lack of spare parts,
What
duct
did they
tape
gain
at the end of
end?
the season.
What did they gain at the end? Did they gain anything with the whole Colapinto move?
Money. Argentine money.
Is that? I think that's the only thing that they earned, because they obviously did not gain positions. They got a couple of points since he came in, but it wasn't enough to actually gain a place in the
They gained
constructors.
space on their freights back home because all the parts were already left in the dustbin or something like that. They can't use them anymore.
but I'll tell you what they got. They got a real world evaluation of Colapinto. Tomorrow, if Carlos Sainz leaves Williams for
Midway through his tenure.
because there is apparently a clause that if Red Bull or Ferrari or Mercedes come calling, he will be allowed to go. If they
That
leave,
yes, yeah.
they will put Colapinto in that car. And they already know that they've priced Colapinto well in the market, saying $20 million if you want him. So I think they've gained.
But to be fair, Williams have to put that offer because this year they suffered from damages with a total cost of 14 million euros. So 20 million is only fair.
But that 14 million is across 3 drivers, right? And the 20 million is so
It's a lot of money.
But teams already they dial these things into their budgets. They do.
But the money is not the problem. The
And
spares not
frankly-
being available or...
But that's always a challenge. Even Mercedes in Austin did not have enough spares, and Lewis said, "You know what? Give my spares to George if there's a better chance of him
Aw.
getting it." Yeah.
That's
So
cute.
so and frankly, I wouldn't fall for that 14 million figure till the
We
team
will come
actually
to that.
says.
We'll come to that a bit later.
Yeah. Okay. Since we're talking of Williams, we're going to switch categories to the switch of the year, because Williams switching Franco Colapinto for Logan Sargent was
Yeah.
that big surprise of the year. There are the obvious ones. Lewis switching for Ferrari, I would say that's a nomination as well. Flavio Briatore to Alpine is the biggest puzzle.
That's mine. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's the biggest puzzle. Then Carlos Sainz not finding a better team to switch to after being kicked out from Ferrari is also one of the nominations. McLaren's in Hungary, switch or switch me not, switch or switch me not, and their constant should we
Switch
switch?
at your own convenience.
Yeah.
Switch at your own convenience.
So that's there. Adrian Newey to Aston Martin.
Loved it.
Yeah, that's the switch.
Look at the smile on this guy's face. It's
Lots of hope and delusion. riding
Sundaram,
on
are
that.
you going to be at the Dadford Road factory with a plate of thali, that puja
I've
plate?
been saving a lot of money for the next 2 years.
Yeah, normally, and this is for all our overseas listeners and viewers, when you welcome somebody home, you have a plate with some fire and marigold flowers and some incense sticks, and you do a puja saying padharo, or come home, welcome
which is
home.
what we
That's
should have
gonna
done
be-
when Fernando came to Chennai, but nobody called us.
Yeah,
Private event.
he had a marigold garland around
Ah.
his neck when he sat there, and he said "Vanakkam," but I don't know if I said it right.
Did he say that?
Yeah, I think he said "Vanakkam Chennai." Yeah, he
Yeah,
did say
you're
that.
I
right.
get a very RCB feel from this. I get a very RCB fan feeling.
But wait a
It's
minute. No switching to cricket. We are still on the and the clock is counting down almost 55 minutes in.
Really?
Yeah. So Williams switching cars between Sargent and Albon.
Amazing.
In Australia. Brilliant
Amazing.
decision. I love the ruthlessness of Formula One. Fernando Alonso switching his views on Aston Martin. First race of the season was like, oh my God, what a brilliant car. I love it.
Wasn't that last year?
That was last year, yeah.
Probably
Bahrain.
every year for all we know.
And Lance was his idol at that point
yeah.
as well.
Hero.
Hero.
And then the last race of the season, like, oh my goodness, get this shit out of my way kind of thing. I mean, I remember in Singapore, he pressed all the buttons on the steering wheel and his engineer was trying to correct him. He's like, I'm trying to press all the buttons so I don't crash this car. So that's another switch of the year nomination. I think Sauber. Nobody cared that Seidel was out and Binotto came in.
But that's an interesting switch. That's
Yeah.
seeing Mattia back there.
And
once
then a
again.
question for you guys. What do you call the second Red Bull racing team? Without thinking, Sundar.
RP.
Visa Cash App Racing Bulls Formula One Team RBPT.
My goodness. No wonder that's the name that they've chosen.
It
because
is
Sommel is
stupid.
the generation Formula One is attracting.
It is stupid.
I've always
And
called it Alpha Tauri or Toro Rosso.
see, the fact that you're considering Alpha Tauri is also wrong. It's
Those
Why?
were such much better names. Toro Rosso,
Toro Rosso. The
which
red
means
team.
Red Bull in
Red
Italian.
Bull. It's Toro Rosso.
So anyway, that's the switch. Nobody knows what the
And
real
by the
name.
way, they've switched names again. So RB is now officially, legally Racing Bulls.
No, they've
Hey.
not announced that yet.
They have.
No.
But
The
It's
the
in-
entry list has
the
the
entry
full
list
name.
has it, yeah.
But I think they've still not announced themselves as Racing
No.
No,
Bulls.
they had a press release or
the
something.
entry
come
list
out.
also has Checo
Racing.
Perez in it, by the way.
Yeah.
Guys. Okay.
But another, I think for me, the switch of the year.
Wait,
if
we have
are-
one more
Oh, we
nomination.
have one more nomination.
We have one more nomination. So Lando Norris going from all luck, no talent to saying that in the FIA Gala. I take those statements back. It was
That
of
was meant to be
course-
court of the year.
It's
That
of
was
course
meant to
switch
be
of
court of the year.
He can win both. That is of
can,
course
yeah, he
the
can
switch of the
something.
year.
Some,
He can win some. Yeah,
he's trying
McLaren
to
can
win
get the
two
double here at
titles.
least.
Yeah.
Finally.
So
no,
you
you're
have a
right.
nomination or are you picking a winner?
I have a winner.
Okay, wait, I have another nomination. Verstappen and Leclerc going from rivals to friends. It's only for 2024. Last year they were rivals.
When were they
2020
friends?
When
this
were they
year?
rivals?
2022, they started the season with Leclerc.
Briefly 5 races.
Yeah, but that, I mean, 5 out of 23 is 1/4 of the season almost. Okay, because Max Verstappen, when he couldn't compete against the McLarens, he switched to training. Switch is the nomination here, right? The category. He switched to training Leclerc on the radio. Like,
Oh, okay.
Which was this race?
This was
Come on,
Sao Paulo.
Charles. So many
Sao Paulo.
mistakes.
The
right?
sprint.
While Leclerc and Norris were battling. And then there was, I think he gave Leclerc the slipstream in Brazil. So Leclerc could go split the McLarens.
But that was incredible because I don't think we've seen Formula One drivers race with that purity of racing ever.
Yeah.
Like there's no strategy on the line, nothing. Save your tires, manage your fuel and just be the fastest driver.
Yeah.
And in that we got to hear their psychology of Verstappen actually expressing what he felt about Leclerc's pace and Leclerc also then coming on the radio and saying, I don't have any confidence, I have to follow along. That sprint race to me was
That was good.
brilliant.
That is a fun
very
race.
good sprint race.
So the winner is Sommel.
The winner is FIA for switching race directors. The winner is never who you think it is. And even the FIA didn't think about this. They just swapped race directors whenever they wanted to at their own will.
The race director is never who you think it is.
The race director is never who you think it is. Or sometimes a race director can be a TV director.
Possible.
Possible.
That happens at times.
2021. But another big switch we have to talk about. Inside line to video. You guys can see us now. How cool is that? And we're putting a sustained effort for that. But okay.
And a big round of applause to Sarang for helping us set up the framing and the entire team that's going to
Yeah.
edit this. My goodness.
So just like McLaren have been upgrading year on year, it's happening here as well.
Yeah.
Okay, quote of the year. We're way over time, so we need to rush
1
through.
hour in, yes.
1 hour in. There's Chirpy Little Terrier. There's Put Him On His Head on the Wall. There's
I
World
love
Champions
that.
Move.
I love that.
By Oscar Piastri in Abu Dhabi when Max Verstappen tapped him. That is a very good one. And also, this is incredible, right? I think the commercial head of Liberty Media said this to Mario Andretti, Formula One World Champion. And he said, Mario, I will do whatever I can to make sure that your son doesn't get in Formula One. He's partially right. His son isn't in Formula One. It's his team. But that's a Hollywood level quote. That is stuff you see in like a Godfather type movie. So that to me is Formula One getting there. I don't think Sonny Hayes had any quote this year. He's a very quiet driver. Got lots of wins and podiums, couple of crashes, but no quotes in the
I
media.
have no
so-
stats on that either.
What happened to Sonny Hayes? I'm just wondering. But the GPDA letter was full of incredible quotes. Didn't George Russell basically paraphrase and basically say, Ben Sulayem, stick it up your own? Because he literally said, mind your own language and your own behavior and also mind where our money is going. Which to me is just like a gigantic middle finger. It's a quote of the year for me. That whole letter is
That letter was screaming George Russell through and through.
Incredible, no?
proper.
So
Proper.
the GPDA is, I think, one of the best things that's happened to Formula One.
I agree.
Keeping the sport. It's keeping the FIA honest. And I think MBS or Mohammed Ben Sulayem is just going to go out and try and be over smart about this. But he
Look at us
doesn't know.
back at MBS again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it was a very planned thing that they did actually. They actually came out with an Instagram account.
Yeah.
And they waited for literally a week for it to gain a following, and then they put out the letter. So it was all very pre-planned, very thought out, and yeah.
And they're bringing
well
out
executed.
jewelry, an issue from 2020
Yeah.
or 2021. Like they're holding on to
Jewelry,
their grudges.
underwear, all those things have come back into the focus once again.
Yeah.
Feels like school all over
Talking
again.
of the FIA, I was asked to go. Niels Wittich, another quote of
It's
the
a
year.
bombshell.
Yeah. One of my favorites was when Lewis knew that Stefano was on TV in Brazil in the rain, and he said, we should have been out there if only you give us better wet tires or rain blankets or whatever. And then there was...
Actually, only Lewis can do that. Only Lewis can do that.
Or Max.
No.
I think so.
Because Max...
He wouldn't care much. He'd
there's-
probably be sitting in his
Exactly.
sim in the motorhome.
But the
or
charm
something.
of a Lewis to
Yeah.
come on TV and just be so innocent about this, even though he knows exactly what he's doing. So good. So good. But there were more.
There were more. I have a few Checo Perez quotes, which my funniest was he hit a bird in China, and then he tells his radio, that was your brother. And his engineer is Hugh Bird. So I found that damn funny, damn.
Hey, I hate your brother.
Yeah. And then Perez's favorite quote when he's ever being threatened to leave a team or asked to leave a team.
I have a contract. It
He
is-
did this at Aston Martin Racing Point. He's doing this at Red Bull as well. And then we should. Are we trying to fix a winner here?
We are, but while we do that, there was another Sergio Perez quote that we have to bring up. And this is an incredible story. The backdrop. Sergio Perez is under pressure. He has been badly outperformed by Max Verstappen. He's not beaten Max Verstappen for almost 2 seasons. He's being beaten by cars that are far slower than him. He's barely getting into Q3. And then comes the Mexican GP. One last chance. One last hurrah to turn it around in front of his home fans. And lakhs of them, actually hundreds of thousands of them have turned up, cheering his name, waving his flags, wearing his cap, just bringing all the hope and positivity. And then Sergio Perez drops in qualifying. Okay, happens, right? Which means a hero's comeback is coming up. So what does he do? With all the emotion pumping up, he puts that car slightly over the yellow line on the grid, makes a false start, ends up getting 10 odd places in the first lap. I think one of the best opening laps along with Leclerc's opening lap in Abu Dhabi. And then when he's feeling all those emotions, all that adrenaline from that incredible first lap, his engineer very carefully says, Checo, I think we have a false start. And his response to me is the quote of the year. No, it was a good start.
That is confidence of the year.
That is unbelievable. Like imagine being that much in your own head, which is a little sad.
Well,
in my
you
opinion,
need to be
but
that much in your own head if you're a Formula
But
1 driver. I
that-
love that.
That ignorance said, no, it was a good start. Like, no.
And the contrast of when Lewis actually jumped the start in Abu Dhabi, it was almost instantaneous where he said, sorry guys, I think
Yeah.
I made a jump start. And Sergio Perez was being very confident in saying that, no, I
it is
definitely
not.
did not do it.
It is not. And honestly, tell me, why would your engineer tell you have a false start if you don't have a if you don't
Why
have
give it away?
Why give it away? If it's not a false start, he won't tell you. So he's
Yeah.
telling you for a reason. But no.
I think the
it
other
wasn't a
quote
false
of the
start.
year is, Lando did not lift under yellows.
You know what? The awareness is unreal
Yeah.
on that guy.
That too of a
He's
car that's behind you, not even in front of you.
unreal, man.
Under lights, and especially when you're leading the pack. So you have more to look forward to and ensure that you don't drop the ball. but he's actually keeping his eyes everywhere.
You know, you and I recently were on a podcast where we were asked to make our ultimate driver. If race awareness was there, I don't think anyone's debating Max. Like
Oh no.
I think he's on
No.
Michael level now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also lots of Flavio Briatore quotes. Makes no difference who's racing for us in 2025.
What encouragement for Jack Doohan.
What a welcome for the kid, right? Like, it makes no difference who you are. It could be anyone.
And the winner is Somel. You have a winner?
Oh yeah, the winner is the quote that sums up the 2024 season in a parody way. It's not talent, it's luck. Statement of the year. A statement so good that Lando Norris had to retract it. But since it's the parody awards and the winner is never who you think it is, I think this has to be the statement of the year. It's not talent, it's luck.
That actually came at the very end of the season, and after a
Exactly.
very, almost 3 hour race in Brazil when
Yeah.
it was a lot of talent required. But I actually would go for a different one. And this, we have to go back, way back to, where was this? January?
January.
January this year, even before the F1 season started, Kush Maini actually announcing on our podcast, on our meetup, live in front of people for the very first time that he's going to be driving a Formula One car this season. That takes it for me.
And he did so 4 times.
Yeah.
And I know that his tests were fantastic. So that's your winner. I'm going to pick an alternate winner. Although Kush is soft heart. So, I mean, soft corner for me.
We should have an episode of you recounting those tests with Coach
Yeah.
genuinely. Like, I'm very curious to know what the whole run plan is like, what the whole program is like, even though you shared a lot of that content on social media. But
let's do
we
that.
should bring it
Okay.
to people, yeah.
My winner is when Flavio Briatore said, "I'm a genius in Formula One."
I agree.
Can't deny that.
I agree.
I just don't accept with his methods. That's the only thing.
I'm a genius in Formula One.
Regardless.
He is a genius in Formula One. And it really doesn't matter who's driving for Alpine in 25. Oh my God. I miss Flavio. I missed him. This is incredible. But okay, we are now moving up to all of our favorite category. Oh, no, let me say
Oh,
that
my
again.
favorite
We're now
category, is
moving
it?
up to our favorite category because we are nerds and nerds love stats.
Absolutely.
And we have a stats guru in our midst. So stats guru, tell us, what is the stat of the year?
Oh, there's lots of stats of the year. But if you go from the very early on, we'll talk about Oliver Behrman becoming the youngest driver to debut for Ferrari at the age of 18 years. He's actually the youngest. He scored the most points as a teenager. I think he scored 6 points that
Yeah.
race. That's the most by any teenager in F1 history. But we also have to talk about Lando Norris briefly holding the record for the most podiums without a race win. He actually went past Nick Heidfeld, but he did go on to win a race, so he's actually removed his name from that list. But he had that briefly against his name as well. But Max Verstappen as well, winning from is it 9? Is it 10? I'm forgetting
9, I
right
think,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, 9 different grid positions, P17 to P1 in Brazil, and now he takes the outright record. What else do we have? Lewis Hamilton. Oh, this is the one that actually put me in the limelight a couple of years ago. So a couple of years ago, I came up with the stat that no driver has ever won a race after starting their 300th Grand Prix appearance. And I think it is very befitting that Lewis Hamilton won it in Great Britain. Wasn't it? What a drive was
Great
that?
drive. A
Yeah.
great drive in Great Britain. And it just showed you that Lewis is the kind of driver who has a ninth gear, some extra room of excellence when the conditions get tough. But what a race that was.
Conditions get tough, and also it's also home ground. So
Yeah.
there's always a tenth or half a second that you can gain when you're in front of your home ground. So that stat was absolutely smashed by Lewis earlier this year. But I also love the fact that Max Verstappen does not have a great record around Singapore, and Antonio Giovinazzi, the former Alfa Romeo, former Sauber driver, has led more laps around Singapore than Max Verstappen till date.
And he's got a Le Mans win before
Yeah.
Max Verstappen.
Yeah. But who's your winner?
I remember this one stat of yours, which basically was, I think we're going to break that stat, so it's not going to happen, that Checo Perez and Max Verstappen were to become Formula One's longest partnership if Checo Perez actually went on to end his contract till 2026. He's
But
not
he
going to
has
make
a
it.
contract, Kunal.
He has a contract.
He has a
But now
contract.
he's going to exchange money for that contract. Lots of money and an ambassadorial role and whatever else that comes with it. And I think it's going to be 138 races that they would have been partners
Yeah.
in Formula One. Longest standing partnership. Actually, I'm glad he's saving himself that humiliation. And
Yeah.
if he takes up the Cadillac seat, even better when it comes in 26. I don't think he's been washed off. I just think he's better off in a midfield car than a top car. Do you have a favorite stat? And I know it's a favorite stat of the year, but it's inadvertently favorite F1 stats guru stat of the year.
Yeah,
right?
it's the 4-quarter division actually. The quarterly breakdown of numbers about how each team fared in each quarter. And it's the second quarter that gives it all away. Ferrari not getting anything there. And that catastrophic upgrade. That to me sums up F1 in 2024. And also Alpine's outlying performance over there. And how Haas consistently built everything up over 3 quarters,
Yeah.
only for Alpine to just take a gigantic leak all over it with one race. But what a breakdown that was, and nobody's done that. So congratulations on that. Fair
Thank
play.
you. But my favorite stat has to be the fact that Max Verstappen has scored as many points in 2024 as Sergio Perez has done in the last 2 seasons combined. Exactly the same number, 437 on both sides.
Oof.
And that sums up Sergio Perez's time in the last 2 years.
There's also a fun one, right? That Lewis Hamilton overtook George Russell for the most points scored at Mercedes in their stint together on the last lap of his last race with Mercedes. So that's also a very, very cool ending. But
But my favorite moment of the year or the big winner of the year, which is the next category, and it's linked to the stat, and I'll tell you why, is that stat Sundaram put out on the coincidences from 2012
yeah,
Brazil Grand Prix,
Yeah.
the last race of the season.
The last race for Lewis Hamilton at McLaren and his last race at Mercedes, the different parallels between the both of them.
And there's a reason why for me that's a big nominee. We can't give you the prize because you're hosting it with us.
yeah, no,
but-
we can give it to you. We can hand you this small little umbrella. It probably might break up all of our setup that we've got here, but for you, congratulations.
Thank you.
But
But
Because
that's not my favorite start of the year actually.
No, that's my favorite. I think my favorite big winner of the year or winner of the year was for you.
Yeah.
Because that got you global recognition. Formula One shared it on their official handles. Everyone stole it, and people who were actually stealing it then finally said, "Guess what? It's not your stat. It's F1 Stats Guru's stat." So
look at this guy's smile.
You know, the reason I'm happy around that, so at least that's a winner for me, because a couple of years ago, I would see a lot of big outlets taking my stat and just running it without giving me any credit. And I would be the person in their DMs constantly telling them this is my stat. The least you could do is give me a credit. But thankfully, I have an audience that does the work for me this time. So every single person who was following me or not following me went back to those outlets and said, this is F1 Stats Guru stat. You should be crediting him. But I'm glad F1 eventually did it. F1 at least did it and did it the right way. So yeah, that's my winner of the year.
Can't top that now, can you?
Yeah.
no. But nominees for the biggest winner of the year, Samuel.
In fact, I'd say it's a question for you guys. Who walks out of 2024 feeling like the biggest winner? I genuinely think nobody. What are our options? McLaren, Constructors World Champions for the first time in 26 years. But will they be satisfied? I think they still have work to do with their drivers. They don't have 2 number ones. And their team principal himself said it. If Max was in this car, he would have long been a world champion. So it's definitely not them being the big winner. Is it Mercedes? No, they lose Lewis. They have no certainty over their car package next year. And they get Kimi, who is an incredible talent, but it's still unproven, right, how he's going to perform. Ferrari, they get Lewis, but do they have the car for next year? And they've lost a very valuable driver pairing, and we don't know if Lewis and Charles are actually going to work, or if Lewis will be accepted, or if he will fit into Ferrari, because Prost hasn't fit in well there. Seb wasn't 100% comfortable. Kimi just didn't care, so he got by. But these are greats of the sport. And even Nigel Mansell, for that matter. All of them struggled at Ferrari. So the team has evolved with management over the years, but it's still different. It's still tough to settle in. So I'm not sure if Ferrari are the biggest winners. Red Bull are the biggest losers. They won the Drivers' World Championship, but they had a fall from grace. P1 to P3, losing top management, having so much turbulence. Adrian Newey is gone as well. Who else can actually call themselves a big winner? Only Alpine, I think. for going from P9 to P6, but they know there's work to be done. And it doesn't matter who's in the second car.
Actually, now that you're doing this, I think pretty much every team has a winning moment because Williams, they got Carlos Sainz, they will bring all that money. He's already got Santander, lots more capex investment allowed. Haas with the Toyota partnership, another winner. Formula One, hence a winner as well. Toyota
And the points
coming.
they scored as well.
Yeah. Then Aston Martin, they've got Newey and Honda, of course, and hence Fernando Alonso's a big winner out here. I would say even, okay, I'm going to put a spin. All 20 drivers also were winners. And I'll tell you why. They went through a race where there was marijuana in the air, but they did not get dope tested.
Where was that?
Las Vegas.
Seriously?
Was it Colapinto who said that in the interview?
Colapinto, Max Verstappen, Checo Perez. Imagine if they were actually dope tested and all 20 drivers tested positive. Let's
That would
just
have been
assume
fun.
that's true. We would have needed 20 test and reserve drivers.
You know,
And they could feel that every time they were on track. So technically, if there are 5 sessions, you need 100 drivers to go through that weekend because every driver would have
insane.
Failed the test.
failed the test. But the winner is...
And that's a good segue as well because he said every team had a winning moment, which is why I feel F1 is the ultimate winner this year.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Absolutely.
I agree. Best season ever.
Every single fan is the biggest winner of 2024.
I agree.
No one's left disappointed, even Sauber for that matter, because they have a very good driver lineup. That's at least that part of it is sorted for them. They have a Nico Hülkenberg, which I said was one of the highlights of this season, and they have a very exciting driver in Gabriel Bortoleto. So something for every single fan base out there.
And they also have more fastest pit stops than any of their midfield rivals. Even though they had 30
Towards
second
the
pit
end of the
stops at
year.
the start of the year.
Yeah.
So that has to be credited. But
And
you're
even
right.
even all our listeners, our fans, our followers, big winners thanks to, we are big winners thanks to them.
We won this year.
Yeah, best
We won
sports
this year.
podcast in India.
Yeah.
Several nominations for best sports podcast for podcasting today and several other, outlets that pool in all the best podcasts in the world. So thank you for your patronage. I think that's key. All the brands we worked with as
Yeah.
well.
I should have brought that award, man.
Which
it's at
one?
my place.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
That would have been it.
But we also won. So now we can officially see that we have a Formula One journalist, we have a Formula One commentator, and a Formula One statistician as well. So
Oh,
we
we
can
do,
add
yeah.
Formula One in the prefix officially now as well.
we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
We can
so
do that.
lots of wins for all of us individually, all of us together. Fabulous. Thank you very much, both you gentlemen. This is not the end of the show. This is still some more categories left, but just a grateful thank you.
But a word on all the brands we've worked with this year, right? Because they've been so supportive on our journey. And again, open plea, if you like what you're doing and if you feel there's an association that we can work out together, reach out, man. And it'll be cool to do some fun
Yeah.
stuff. And we're going to be traveling around the country next year, bringing in so many fun live events. That will be really interesting. But a big thank you to Heineken, to eBay, to Red Bull this year as well. They've been supportive on that
Social,
front.
fan code.
Fan code, lot of the drinks. Should we say thank you to them? Thank you. Nonetheless, that is also a very, very good experience. But yeah, lots of interesting brands. Gridmaster as well, who've also been around. So yeah, lots of people to say thank you to this year.
and a big thanks to the paddock. A lot of drivers, a lot of teams for trusting our work. We can't obviously name everyone. We shouldn't. But there's a lot of that we've built is because people trust our work, our ethics, our discipline, our content. They know we're not clickbaity, not controversial. We say it as it is, but only if it's a fact. And that should now lead us to second
The
last category.
biggest loser of the year, because we've done biggest winner. Okay, I'm going to break your heart, Sundaram. I am going to smash it into 1,000 pieces.
I know what's coming.
With no mercy whatsoever. I don't even have to say anything. You tell me.
Aston
Who is the
Martin,
biggest loser?
Fall of grace, because they were on the podium 9 times last year, all of which was obviously Fernando. But like Kunal said, Fernando going from this is the best car I've driven in a while, this feels amazing, to coming to Brazil saying this is the worst car that I've driven. So that fall from grace is terrible, and the sort of decline they had throughout the 4 quarters just goes to show that how they've been struggling with upgrades and their car in general, which is also what makes me a little worried about next year. If they get their upgrades in place, they can be a competitive team, but otherwise, yeah, they're going to be going back very disappointed.
But weren't they using Suzuka spec upgrades in Las Vegas and Qatar?
In Brazil as well,
In
if
Brazil,
I'm not
yeah.
wrong. Yeah,
It's
so
crazy, man.
that just goes to highlight how bad their upgrades have been, especially in the mid-season.
Quote of the year, Lance Stroll saying that none of the upgrades we brought in the last 12 months have worked on our car.
Captain Obvious.
And
Thank
that's
you.
probably why we had, I think it was Dan Fallows who was who was asked to leave, or he left by himself.
Bad year to be a Dan, huh?
Yeah.
Even
And,
Man
and Mike
United's
Crack
sporting
and
director.
Mike Crack said if we don't see performance, they leave the team. I don't know if that applies for drivers, but Mike Crack said that.
We had every single team almost in the biggest winner of the year. I would say every single team is also nominated for the biggest loser of the year, because they have Formula One has let Andretti in, which means that the cake will now be split into 11 pieces from 2026. There will be a dilution fee, which is a one-time fee for loss of earnings, revenue, etc. But 11 pieces.
And does the new piece actually make the cake bigger? Is a question we will all work towards answering. And there's no real way to say this apart from let's just wait and see, right? Because how do you quantify the financial impact of a brand like GM coming into Formula One? You can, but does it add in as much as it subtracts from all the teams? We shall wait and find out. They could well end up being the biggest loser. And I feel now that one is in, it could open the floodgates for more. So we'll have to wait and
should.
see. We'll have to wait
I would
and see.
love for other teams to use the Andretti framework. Become friends with MPS. Say we should be the 12th team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pressurize the government in that country to say, we need a team. Go put pressure on Formula One. Of course, the pressure is different because Formula One is registered as a company in America. So if the US Congress puts pressure, it's more than, say, the Chinese Congress or the Indian Congress.
Chinese Congress won't put pressure. They will coerce you
Oh,
into
yes.
getting a race team.
Could be. BYD.
You know what? That reminds me. Have you guys seen how cryptic Zhou Guanyu's social media has been since he's left Formula One? Like that, it is absurd. It's like we're seeing Chinese media coming into light in front of us, right? Because the way Chinese media works, and I'm sure all of you must have read so many stories, they don't tell you the truth. They tell you what they want you to know.
That's why it's Chinese media.
Exactly. And so Zhou Guanyu's messages, posts, they never really say, I am leaving Formula One. It always is, the messaging always is, my contract with Sauber has come to an end.
But
And there's
isn't that what Sergio has been saying as well?
No, but-
I still have a contract till 2026.
But
Am I going to be
Sergio
driving
says
next
that.
year?
Joe doesn't say it. Joe
Yeah.
only says it on his posts.
Yeah.
And the life that he's showing now after Formula One is him playing games, traveling the world, becoming an ambassador. But there's no emotion of him leaving Formula One anywhere. That's not captured at all.
There was no emotion of Logan Sargent leaving Formula One as well. There was
Fair.
no...
Or
Nobody
him
cared.
racing in Formula One apart from
No, there were emotions.
only the
frustration.
Chinese Grand Prix.
Hey, that is a moment of the year. Zhou Guanyu getting a round of applause. But I find it weird how his media has been going around. But big loser, in my opinion also, Yuki Tsunoda. If Red Bull are genuinely going with Liam Lawson,
Yeah.
I know the concerns about Yuki are genuine, but that just puts water or splashes water or completely destroys whatever case Yuki's been building for himself for the last 4 years. Like theoretically, how do you quantify if a driver is doing well? Have they beat all their teammates? Yes. Have they gotten some really good qualifying results? Yes. Have they gotten that midfield car to points and close to a podium? Yes. Have they not crashed enough or not caused a lot of damage for the team? Yes. So why not put him up there? Like I know the concern is genuine.
Why not test him? I agree.
Yeah.
But like Kunal said, these are things that you can probably the reasons that you mentioned, which are genuine at this point of time, you might say temperament. Those are things that can be worked around. Ultimately, you want to see if he's a fast driver, and if they've got some sort of an indication from that from the postseason test. And I know Yuki's been saying all the right things. He's
Yeah.
been saying, I can adapt to this car. This car feels good for me. Because that's what they've been struggling with, a Pierre Gasly, a Danny, an Albon and a Perez. Drivers who have not been able to adapt to the philosophy of the car. And Yuki's been trying to say that, yeah, this works great for me. But if all those other things can be worked around, then it's a great match. And if not, like you said, it's going to be one of the biggest losses this year.
The other big loss
I
is,
want to go
Yeah.
slightly deeper into this. Just this one question. Do you think mental temperament is more important than raw pace in that second Red Bull seat? Because in my opinion, it is.
absolutely.
Like,
I mean,
it's the
drivers have
hardest job in Formula One.
crumpled under pressure in that seat. We saw Albon, we saw Gasly. We are now seeing, I would say Checo Perez as well. It's a lot down to how they handle themselves mentally.
But does Lawson have the right temperament as well?
I think Helmut would like what he sees. Like just him beating
No,
the
because
pulp out
we've seen him go up against a Perez, we've seen him go up against Alonso, and even having the sort of outbursts on the radio, and even showing a couple of things to other senior drivers while passing them, so that there's a little bit of a question mark on his temperament as well, right?
That's a good point, actually.
But I don't know. Let's see what Helmut Marko.
There's someone else to decide that. It's not us.
Yeah.
We can enjoy.
But how have you not mentioned Carlos Sainz? Not yet.
There's also other big
He
losers
will
this year.
split it saying the big teams are losers
No,
for
exactly.
not
We're
signing
not
Carlos
talking
Sainz.
about Carlos Sainz, guys. Sorry, we are not
Actually-
adding more pain.
Actually, I will put his Renault teammate in that seat. I know Haas and Hulkenberg didn't speak on time, and Hulkenberg went to Audi and certainly surprised everyone. But I would say Hulkenberg is the big loser in this,
Of course.
given how Sauber has performed.
But
I mean,
it's
Valtteri
okay.
Bottas has said joining Sauber 3 years ago was a mistake, or 2 years ago, whatever.
But is that the reason why Nico left? Was it because they did not initiate discussions with him?
Yes. So apparently by the time the discussions with Audi were happening, they were so much further down the road
Okay.
that Haas had no chance to make a move on
And
him.
the bags were bigger. The money bags
and,
was
and
much
I also
bigger.
believe, Hulkenberg is like Audi, a German car company entering Formula One with a German driver. I'm getting a chance to make a move. And, my challenge is the driver, the team boss who hired Hulkenberg is not the team boss who's going to race him next
That's
year.
the catch.
And that's always
the
the problem
catch.
in
Yeah.
Formula One.
But it's also a case of maybe Hulkenberg being given a 2-year contract compared to maybe what a Haas might have been offering him.
Oh, but I mean, given what Hulkenberg has been doing, he could have just said his terms and he would have walked away
Yeah.
with it. So again, we have to remember, we don't always just hear a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
Okay. There are always opportunities that the teams also want to lock themselves into with extensions. If you do well by race 6, by race 14, by race whatever, we will unlock certain opportunities on you. But there is the winner. I'm going to choose the winner.
Big winner for the big loser?
The big winner, I think, is Andretti stepping down, right? Which I think is a very gracious thing he's done for his team to come, be called Cadillac Racing, and then get the 11th team in Formula One. So we are all cheering, but it's the Andrettis that are actually the loser in this. They've enabled all of this, but they will not get the chance to taste the pie, be there in the paddock, on the pit wall. I'm pretty sure these are all those things that, yes, we'll call it your team, but you cannot be seen as running the race team operations, which, fair enough, the way he's bullied Formula One.
And I think also F1 loses out in a way because
Yeah.
if you look at all the 10 teams, how many of those teams have actually come from former racers?
McLaren,
Williams to
Sauber,
some extent. Williams to
Sauber
some
for
extent.
sure.
Ferrari, well,
Yeah. I mean, it's motor racing, right? Ferrari is
Yeah, but then seeing an Andretti there would have been something else.
would have been nice.
Yeah.
Would have been
I
nice.
think seeing Cadillac there is actually better.
Really?
Yeah, because
I don't
Cadillac
get
as a
why.
brand,
Why Cadillac? Cadillac.
that's the General Motors thing. That's the brand they go racing with, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, and we have lots of American listeners. Do you buy Cadillac for the sports? Like, I know Cadillac has an amazing Le Mans Daytona campaign. It's amazing, right? That car is beautiful.
That's a good question.
And wins. But do you buy a Cadillac for sportiness? I don't know if you do. I've never heard of someone saying, I have $100,000. I'll buy a Cadillac because I want to go fast. I don't know. It's weird. But the big loser.
The big loser.
You have a
There's
really
the
fun
second
one.
one. Fans. Red Bull Racing fans are the big losers here as well, right? They're seeing the team implode. Literally. We've said all the people who are leaving. There were news of Max Verstappen leaving at some point. They don't really have a driver, they don't have depth in the driver rankings, driver field, or the junior driver program who can take Max's place.
Max's place, yes.
Irreplaceable, so to say. But even worse, they put out these special livery programs. They said, come design, we'll race it in 5 races of the season. And then suddenly Red Bull lost performance and they said, we are going to save every ounce of weight we can to help our performance. So
cancelled.
None of the special liveries made it there, which takes us to the
moment of the year, the last category. We are at the end of it all. And there are so many fun nominations. Let's start with the frivolous ones. This year, Formula One dished out 2 penalties that may never get served. Ever. Ever. One of them surely is not going to get served. That door is closed. The other one may be in 2026. But Robert Schwartzman and Valtteri Bottas both got grid penalties for their next race, which, if I look at my future clock, is probably not going to happen for either of them.
I think it still might for Valtteri at some point because
Cadillac might be an interesting option.
Yeah, if he gets a full-time seat or if he's going to be a reserve driver for Mercedes maybe next year, if one of the drivers gets ill, unfortunately, he might have to come in with what? Is it a 3 or 5 place?
Something. It's not as bad as Jensen Button's, 120 place penalty that he used to get back in the day.
He's going to be glad he's not going to be racing in F1 again. But yeah, we might never see that happen.
And Robert Schwartzman, I was just here to have fun. Why did I get a penalty? Speeding, it's weird. But that was there. A moment for me as well to cherish. For all of us, Bono wearing Lewis Hamilton's Tommy Hilfiger outfit. Firstly, I'm surprised it fit. And then
it did not fit. It was oversized.
It's nice. It is good. I liked it. It's a very sweet moment.
Max Verstappen, lots of moments, right? With PS3, with Norris, in the press conference.
Can I bring out
his one-word press conference in Singapore, then hosting his own conference in, I think it was, he hosted it outside, right, of the official press conference. So lots of Max Verstappen moments. For all you Max fans, since we know there are tons of you there, he had a 20-second time penalty, and one of his moments was, I should have just gone and gotten a drink. The engine was anyway off. I had enough time. In Monaco, he said, George and I are going to go for a run post-race because the race was hardly a workout. Then there were multiple esport accounts that he maintains. I think that's my favorite Max Verstappen moment of the year.
We all do that.
Well, I don't even care about esports. But anyway, he did a DTM test. He was on the sim late night racing in Hungary and suddenly was asked not to do something. For once, somebody stood up to Max saying, you can't do that. And he listened. I think it was Mercedes who chased him all year long, and a rental company from where he wanted to hire an Mercedes AMG GT car to drive told him, no, you're too young to drive that car.
Are you kidding me? Do Max, you know who you're speaking to?
Yeah. And then I think one of my, again, favorite Max Verstappen's moment of the year was he and Red Bull Racing did a previous car test before Austria when they suddenly lost their performance. And Max was just like, I want to build a reference to what the previous cars have done. And then Max doing what I think I've always done. I never remember the racing schedule, especially if it's a sprint weekend. Max forgot the race schedule at Austria. So lots of Max Verstappen moments that we had through the year, on track and off it.
But there was one really crazy one, right? And that one micro moment sums up Max. As a driver with wheel-to-wheel contact. Austria, when Lando Norris almost got past, and Max got a hint that we're not going to make it together. So that slight nudge he made to push Lando Norris off the track into the grass. Not many people noticed it, but he did that. And that is, to me, a Max Verstappen moment. That, to me, is the moment of the year shared with another one, because that was the first sign of the championship battle starting.
Yeah.
If Verstappen has to push someone onto the grass to make sure that if my race is gone, yours should be as well, that is the start of something special.
We've been there before.
I'm going to repeat what I've said at least 15 times this year. Max hitting that bollard in Miami. things have never been
Moment
the
of the year.
same
Yeah.
after that.
Moment of the year.
But there's also Valtteri Bottas. I think, him having the What's Next t-shirt, contributing sale of the t-shirt to a charity for people who had suddenly faced unemployment, him crossing the Mediterranean Sea
Oh, yes.
in his break, him doing a triathlon just
Between
again in
race
his
weekends.
between race weekends at home, him taking a 5,000 euro tab of all the drivers. And then the drivers giving
Give him
him
a tow.
tows, which suddenly put him into Q3. What a cheap way to do that. All the drivers who never made it, past Q1, Q2 next year, just take all the drivers out. 5,000 euros is not a lot of money every race. Put down that money and you will get a Q3. And then ensure that you have a bonus clause in your driver contract that every time you get into Q3 you get $5,000. So do the math
do the
there.
math.
But there were also Fernando Alonso moments that I'm sure you've had. So he's had more Q3 appearances than Checo Perez. Again, offering to pay Adrian Newey's wages. But my favorite Alonso, actually two of them. There was one race where his session ended because they were filming for Apex or with the Apex Grand Prix team, and the FIA just put him on the side and he could not go back when the red flag stopped and the race resumed or the session resumed. But in the first 5 races, he went from 0 to 6 penalty points because he was qualifying that Aston Martin in places it couldn't race in, and then trying to race everyone else, he was just suddenly going out of the limit. But Somil, we're nearing the end of this episode. What's your final winner of the moment of the year?
Wow, that's a
category?
lot of pressure, man.
I know mine.
I think it's that safety car in Miami. Nothing has been same. No, nothing.
You
has
mean
been
the
same.
bollard in Miami?
So the bollard in Miami and the safety car afterwards, and then the safety car picking up the wrong driver. That to me changed this season.
Bernd Maylander just always assumed it was Max who was the race leader and just picked up. But
another big moment. We got Ibrahim Ali Khan speaking in Hindi. Oh, he
got
speaks in
Charles-
Hindi.
we got
Of
Charles
course,
Leclerc
he got
speaking
Charles Leclerc to speak in Hindi. What am I saying? Wow, it's been a long episode. But yeah, Leclerc spoke Hindi, so that's phenomenal.
I'm
Moment of the
surprised
year.
you guys have not picked one moment from the Brazilian Grand Prix. Lance Stroll binning it on his own on the formation lap.
I mean, it's like, what's unexpected now from that? You tell me. We know these things.
Oh yeah, that doesn't fit the category of the episode, correct. It doesn't fit the theme.
होते रहता है.
Yeah, so I'll go with that actually. Or I would also say that Sergio Perez ending his season and probably even his F1 career in a very Sergio Perez manner from 2024. I mean, I know he's really fallen down in that regard, considering he was a very good midfield driver or one of the most consistent drivers before his Red Bull era. But going out of his F1 career probably without with the DNF is not the most ideal way. He started his Formula 1 career with a disqualification, I think back in 2011, and he probably ends his F1 career with a DNF on the opening lap.
And I'm going to end this category nomination since Somil is so emotional about Ocon moment of the year. Taking an Alpine car to the Williams factory to negotiate a move there.
Oh, yes.
And getting caught on GPS.
Did he seriously do that?
He did do that. And then...
Wait. What's the thought process behind that? One second.
I got to drive to Grove. I have a Williams car which they've given me for the season. I'll just drive it there, not thinking that they're going to track him
Like
down.
a Williams company car.
Yeah.
No,
an Alpine
an
company
Alpine car.
Sorry, yeah.
They had their Alpine
wow,
company
that's a
car and
rookie
he took it
mistake,
to
man.
Williams.
That's a rookie mistake, brother. Oh, wow.
Wow.
So we've
But we're not
ended it on the
mentioning
right note.
Carlos Sainz winning in Mexico City.
No.
Nope.
We will mention
phenomenal.
a moment of the year when the official media list was sent a Google Drive link to all the screenshots
Yes.
between Horner and his secretary's whatever misconduct you call it. I still haven't been added to the list. I've been asked. I've asked several times saying, bhai,
You don't want to know people's WhatsApp chats.
no,
do you?
but that same list had the Mercedes sabotage thing as well, right? So lots
Which
of...
also turned out to be BS,
Yeah.
MBS, Mercedes BS. Not what MBS are you guys talking about? Okay,
But,
then.
but I have a stat which actually is the reason why, Somil and I, and I'm not excluding you, but, the good old motorsport saying was race on Sunday, win and sell cars on Monday. That's the motorsport I
Yeah.
grew up to. And given that Somil always has a 70s reference every time we speak, Red Bull Racing actually proved that Red Bull energy drinks, they're able to sell cans using Formula One activities. They sold 320 million cans on the back of Formula One activities. And that means Red Bull Racing is in the top 10 countries that sells Red Bull energy drinks.
Nice.
You mean Austria?
No,
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 Red Bull
Red
Racing.
Bull Racing. So if Red Bull Racing were a
Oh.
country,
That way.
I mean,
Yes.
are they selling most of their Red Bulls to Williams and their mechanics who have to stay up all night to work on their car? Because that looks like a very, very good deal inside the paddock. It's
yes, what looks like a good deal is a 100-minute long episode, our longest
goodness.
ever.
no, we've gone longer. For sure, we've gone longer. We banter around a lot.
We've gone Grand Prix length right now.
My goodness. Thank you
Yeah.
for staying
Not even
along.
Singapore level though, because there are still so many
Yeah.
interesting little nuggets on each of our laptops that we haven't even mentioned yet. But that's for, I don't know.
WhatsApp,
Whatever.
social
For-
media.
I guess we'll figure it out. But thank you. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you to our editor who has to sit through 100 minutes of footage to just
Good
get
luck to
everything
him.
dissected.
Good luck to him.
But how cool is this? All of us in the same studio at the same time. We're all going to do more of this as well. Kunal's here for the winter and we are going to do an event in Mumbai where all of you can join in and listen to all these discussions and more and be involved in that fun as well in person. So we can't wait to see you for that. More information should be out on at Inside Line F1 Pod on all of our social media handles. That's who we are. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. It's been a great 2024 and we should sign off by saying it's been a simply lovely year. Or will we be copyrighted for that?
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's been a lovely year.
It's been a lovely
Not
year.
simply, but extraordinarily simply. No, what extraordinarily lovely.
But thank you for being here for that, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you in a bit.